I used to believe I had to fix everything about myself before I was worthy of being seen, especially online. I used to tell myself that once I lost so many pounds, people would finally click on my videos and I could finally start on my dream life. And anytime I fell off this wagon of weight loss, it felt like I was thousands of miles away from what and who I wanted to be. I felt like it would take me years to be ready to show up as my ideal self online and in person. I also felt like I had to be the perfect person, have the perfect equipment, the perfect room, the perfect hair, the perfect makeup, perfect everything. But then I finally realized life doesn't wait for you to be ready. When the life you want can't wait any longer, what do you do then? Today, I want to talk about the lie of being ready and why it's probably holding you back too. Hello, my name is Joyous. Welcome back to my channel. And on this channel, I like to talk about pretty much whatever I want. I'm really on a self-reflective journey at this point. And yeah, I want to talk about my experience with waiting for the perfect moment. So I'm 25 now, and about 4 years ago I graduated from college. And after I graduated from college, I gained so much weight because of a few different things, but I do recall walking a lot more. When I was in college, I was eating less because I was so busy doing other things, and also because I was a broke college student, and generally being a way busier, way more active person back in college. And then right when I got out of college, I started having mental health issues, like my first mental health issues really ever in my life. And that was a lot to take in. I think I started coping a lot with food in general, and I generally stopped taking care of myself and just started neglecting myself. And that was a really tough time for my person. But yeah, I really believed, and I was also running a startup at the time in college, and after college, I just couldn't find any more funding. And I just felt like my life was going to look a lot differently than it came out. And I just felt like I wasn't satisfied with my life as it was at the time. And I used to post videos, and there's a bunch of videos. I've probably posted over 20 videos on YouTube that I've hidden away now. But I've always wanted to be a YouTuber. I just never felt like I was at the perfect time or looked great or was in the perfect moment in my life to do the YouTube video business lifestyle thing. So, and I also just felt like, especially right after college, there was a lot of things that I was delaying and a lot of things I was hesitating on. I would delay posting often, and I would try to post or say I was going to post every day or something, and I just didn't. I also hesitated to speak up at work and at home. So I just got really shy out. In college, I was the president of a student organization. I was the officer, the founder of a startup. I was a part of the Dean Student Council. I was a social justice advocate. I was just doing a bunch of stuff in college that I just felt like I was really outgoing. And after college, I just I isolated myself and clambered into myself because I felt like my life wasn't where I wanted it to be at. And I started hesitating to apply for certain jobs after college because I just felt like I wasn't in the perfect body, or I didn't have the perfect resume for the jobs. The worst that the jobs could do is say no. I started hesitating to apply for certain jobs. And then the worst part, or not the worst part, but one of the worst parts is I stopped trying to date people and just date in general because I just felt like I wasn't in my ideal body to do what I wanted to do with my life. And I felt like no one was going to love me, and I felt like I wasn't worthy of anyone's love. And I also just wasn't in the right or the perfect socioeconomic status or living the specific lifestyle that I wanted to be living before I started posting on YouTube or, you know, creating content online. But now I'm starting to understand or like come to terms with the fact that there's plenty of like non-perfect or like non-thin women. There's plenty of like bigger women online that are thriving and making a boatload of money. They're also, you know, having their own business or their own SW business. There's a whole industry of people who love big, beautiful women, and plenty of fit, skinny, big men that love bigger women. Plenty of fit, skinny, big women that love bigger women, you know, like, and there's plenty of people that'll watch the content of a bigger woman. Like, I'm not saying that I want to stay at this weight forever. I'm still going to be on my weight loss journey, but does that mean I have to hide myself in the meantime while I'm doing this? I personally don't think so. I've personally come to the realization that I wasn't waiting to feel ready. I was just waiting to feel acceptable and be accepted by others. Now we're going to talk about the research and science. There's proof that's just starting works. So there is two things I want to talk about. Well, first I want to talk about, like, when you commit to something, even if it's scary, your brain rises to meet it. And I want to talk about cognitive dissonance and your reticular activating system. And these two ideas create how your brain filters the world to align with what you believe is possible. So when it comes to cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort we feel when our actions don't align with our beliefs or our identity. It's introduced by the psychologist Leon Festinger in 1957. This theory explains how we're motivated to reduce that discomfort by either changing our beliefs or our behaviors. So how it applies to being ready. When you commit to a big action, like putting yourself out there, investing in your dream, or showing up online, but you don't see yourself as ready yet, your brain experiences dissonance. To reduce this discomfort, it starts to shift your self-concept to match the new action. If I just published a video about my healing journey, maybe I am someone worthy of being seen and accepted. This is how confidence is built, not before you act, but after. For an example in real life, there was this experiment done with cognitive dissonance called the $1 versus $20 experiment, and it's one of the most famous studies in psychology, and it's a perfect example of how cognitive dissonance works. So for the setup, participants were asked to do a very boring and repetitive task, like turning pegs on a board for an hour. Then they were asked to lie to the next participant and say it was actually really fun and interesting to do the turning the boring, activity for an hour. But here's the twist. Some were paid $1 to lie, and others were paid $20 to lie. Afterwards, researchers asked how much the participants actually enjoyed the task. So for the surprising result is that those who were paid $20 reported that they didn't really enjoy the task. They knew that they lied, but they felt justified because they said, they would get paid $20. I said it was fun because I got paid $20. Duh. Those who were paid only $1 were more likely to say they genuinely enjoyed the task. But why would they say that? It's cognitive dissonance that's playing a role here. People naturally want their actions and beliefs to align. The $20 group didn't experience much conflict. The big payment justified the lie. So there was no dissonance, so no need to change their beliefs. The $1 group felt internal discomfort. I just lied. For only $1? That's not enough to justify it. So their brain reduced the dissonance by changing their belief. Maybe the task actually wasn't that bad. Maybe I kind of liked it. They unconsciously rewrote their own memory to make sense of their behavior. This matters because when you take action that contradicts your belief, for example, I'm not ready yet, but you post the video anyway, your brain wants to resolve the discomfort. So it shifts your identity to fit the action. Well, I must be someone who's ready because I'm already doing it. That's how confidence grows. Those who were paid less in that experiment actually changed their beliefs to reduce their dissonance, convincing themselves that the lie was true. Similarly, when we take action before we're ready, we often begin to believe we're capable because we've already done it. For the second one, the reticular activating system, this is how our brain filters for what matters. The reticular activating system is a network of neurons in the brainstem that helps regulate wakefulness and attention. One of its jobs is to filter incoming information. so your brain can focus on what it believes is most important. So, how it applies to starting before you're ready. When you decide, I'm going to build an online presence, or I'm ready to be seen, your reticular activating system starts scanning your environment to reinforce that. You'll begin noticing resources, opportunities, and examples that support this new identity, things you previously filtered out. It literally reshapes your awareness based on the story you're telling yourself. For example, have you ever bought a new car and then suddenly see that exact model everywhere? That's your reticular activating system at work. Likewise, when you say, I'm ready to share my voice, your brain will start finding evidence to make that true or feel true. And when it comes to cognitive dissonance and reticular activating system, people combine these two ideas when it comes to money manifestation. And for example, say you buy a new house or a new apartment or a new car that's slightly out of your budget, your brain will rise to meet those needs and rise to the occasion to make that happen. And also, entrepreneurs who start before they're ready start and actually experience some great things when it comes to their business. You don't manifest by waiting, you manifest by moving. And the problem with perfection first. There's an illusion of there being a right time, but that rarely ever comes. So when I think about this, is there ever a right time that comes in movies or TV shows? No. Characters have journeys that are thrust upon them that they have to rise up to. They're never put in a situation where they're perfectly ready and they feel perfectly confident to do their story or start their arc. They are put in positions where they have to do it and they rise to the occasion to do their story. I'm not saying that movies and TV shows are true or real, but they are reflective of the human system and the human story. So that's something I think about when I'm thinking about this. Characters in TV show never, are at the perfect time to do something. And when they are, what happens when you get started and then the wrong time shows up or something bad happens or something gets thrown as a challenge into your own situation or your own life? Will you stop all of your progress because of a hiccup? I know I've personally been in a position where I have stopped my progress because I wasn't feeling it or something challenging happened in my life or I got busier with work or something. And this stopped and threw a wrench in my progress. And, right now I'm trying to just start this YouTube channel with the idea that I'm going to do it as sustainably as possible and not promise myself to post a video every day. And it's also just better to start now than wait. And there's just no day that is promised to you. You can die at any moment. And are you gonna die, with all these hopes and regrets that you had, in your body and in your system? No, just start and get started, Also, there's capitalism and social media's obsession with the before and after. There are accounts and companies and influencers that are obsessed with giving you the before and after results, which incentivize you to get your emotions worked up about some after that's coming that will change your life. Capitalism doesn't just sell products, it sells the idea that you're not quite good enough yet, but you could be with the right investment. For example, with the weight loss industry, buy this medicine, buy this surgery, and you'll finally love your body. With the beauty industry, buy this makeup, buy this product, and you'll finally fix your flaws and become the best version of yourself. With coaching or productivity or self-help, level up, optimize, become your 2.0 self by buying this, I don't even know what it's called, buying these programs, buying these coaching things. And then when it comes to YouTube, buy this book, buy this seminar, buy this training, and you'll become the best YouTuber ever. You'll gain 100,000 subscribers in 5 videos, which rarely happens for people. But these industries profit most when you feel like you need to change. That's why you'll constantly see things before she used this product, that she was, sad, angry, quiet, isolated, or whatever. After, she became the woman of her dreams. She became rich, famous. This creates a commercialized definition of your worth. Your life before was lacking, And only in the after you feel lovable, desirable, powerful. So these before and after things that you're chasing for are a product of capitalism. Also, preparation can be a form of procrastination. I know I've been there when it comes to preparing and finding every reason not to do something because you're not in the perfect situation. You don't have the perfect microphone, you don't have the perfect lights, you don't have the perfect room, you don't have the perfect body, you don't have the perfect whatever. And you're preparing, or you overplan a video and you don't actually just do the video, or you overplan a book. I know plenty of writers who have so many books planned and like all of these character ideas, but they don't actually sit and write the book down. They like write the story out, and they have all these scene ideas, but they don't actually write anything. Starting messy is not a failure. It's brave. It's courageous. Starting is better than not starting. What you can do now to empower yourself to move in the path forward to get your stuff done. I want to ask you, what would you do if you weren't waiting to be ready? What if you were just ready now? You would post that video even if your hair isn't done or you're not in your ideal body. You would start that business with a free template. You would wear the outfit even if your body's not at its goal weight. You would start writing the book even if you don't feel confident you have the skills to write it. Start applying for the school programs even if you're not confident that you'll get in. Start applying for jobs that seem way out of your league. The worst they can say is no. What if you reframe whatever you're working on as practice for the big leagues? The future you will be grateful that you started and stayed consistent with whatever you did. And you don't know when or if your work will ever pop off. And people tend to be happier when they don't get it right on their first try because there's less pressure at the beginning to be perfect at every step moving forward. And you get to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. Especially when it comes, like, I get this a lot when it comes to authors. Like, it's rare that an author on their first try gets a bestseller book. And I've gotten the feedback that like a lot of authors should write 6 to 7 or 8 books before they, really get into the business, because you get a feel for what you like writing and what works for you. And then you also get a feel for what your readers like about your writing, instead of just getting that first one-off book. You don't know exactly what went right with that book, and like your second book may flop and you might feel a lot worse about yourself because you didn't get it right on the second try. But imperfect action in general is better than perfect delay. So writing those books, doing those stories, posting the video is better than perfectly waiting for the right moment until you feel confident. Because confidence comes after you act, not before you act, but after you act. You're already worthy of the life you want, and it's not your job to shrink yourself to fit someone else's timeline or ideal. You don't have to be ready to begin. You only have to be willing. Not perfect, not polished, not transformed into someone else's idea of worthy. Start with your shaky voice, your unfinished thoughts, your body as it is today. Start even if you're unsure, even if your heart beats a little too fast when you press publish. The right time? It's a myth made to sell you, a version of yourself that already exists inside of you. You don't need permission. You don't need an after photo. You don't need a glow up. To glow, begin here, as you are. It's enough, you're enough. So, what dream are you waiting to start? Comment below, and I look forward to encouraging you along the way in your journey. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye!